And so, kind of break it down. I want to talk about the legacy, the generations of King and Reese. My name is Alan Sconiers, and I am the son of Elisha Sconiers, the grandson of King and Reese Sconiers, the great-grandson of Luke and Ellen Sconiers, the great-great-grandson of Solomon Sconiers, and the great-great-great-grandson of the slave girl, Sophie. It is by that way, my family, I come to you today. King Sconiers was born February 20th, 1883, and he died July 22nd, 1948. Teresa, they call her Reese Pouncey Sconiers, were born August the 10th, 1897, to Benson and Maggie Pouncey, and she died February 13th, 1982. So what does that mean? First of all, when they got married on February 7th, 1915, King was 31 years old and Reese was 17. Yes. To this union, 13 children were born. And they, on the list of their age, Alan Sconiers, King James Sconiers, Nathaniel Sconiers, St. Luke Sconiers, Philip Sconiers, Ruth Sconiers, Solomon Sconiers, Nathaniel Sconiers. And after Nathaniel, that's when it got tricky. You had St. John Sconiers and Titus Sconiers. And the reason I want to spell that right there is because both of them died at a very young age. They were less than 2 years old. Okay? Had all these kids right here, and then 2 deaths back to back. I can only imagine what my grandparents went through losing 2 kids back to back. But when they came back, then my uncle, Elijah Sconiers, was born. And then my dad, Elisha Sconiers. And then my aunt, Rebecca Sconiers Baker. Wow. Walking in their shoes, lose 2 children at a young age, and then have 3 more after that. So you almost have like 2 sets, the older ones and the younger ones. But now the next key thing, if you look on her obituary, she's known as missionary Reese Sconiers. Okay, with that being the case, understanding, keep in mind when I told you that my grandfather died in 1948, and my grandmother then died in 1982. So she was a widow for 30 or 40 years. Can you imagine that? Keep in mind, back in that time, it was farming. My grandfather was a farmer. And with as many kids they had, my grandmother was a homemaker. So now, where does the income come from? That's the next question. Now that he's dead, the next 35 to 40 years, where does the income come from? Wow. Now you got the older siblings. So all moved out of the house. Now they are funneling money back. And I think the message my grandmother and my grandfather want you to know is never quit, never give up. Tough times will come. They went through tough times. You got to understand, tough times. Being a widow for over 30 or 40 years. Independent of income. But I know, and I feel it in all my spirit, what the message you want to have to the King and Reese and to the other parts of our lives too. Sometimes when you feeling down and you feeling like you can't make it, you feel like it's so bad, think about the fact, just remember us. Just remember us, what we went through, what we went through. Put it in perspective. Put it in perspective. And I can remember when my dad got older, and I asked my dad, I asked God first, I said, how could my dad have been hurt? He reminded me my dad was 8 to 9 years old when he lost his dad. Yeah, he was 8 to 9 years old. And my dad was 70-something years old. I asked my dad, what was it like when you lost your dad? And tears came up in his eyes. It was like a little boy. That little boy that lost his dad so many years ago was very much alive and very raw. And he said he got on his dad's truck. He said they were eating at the table. And then all of a sudden, he was having a stroke. And then they took his dad, back then like this, so they kind of Sconiers funeral home. See, it was like, that was kind of your ambulance back in the day. See, they didn't have the ambulance. The ambulance was for us, you know what I mean? The ambulance was the hearse. Yeah, I take it to the hospital. And so My dad said he never came back home. And said my dad said he tried to get on his dad's tractor, trying to be the man of the house. And he said he couldn't get it to start. He said he just cried and he cried and he cried. My dad told me that story. I was holding my dad and I was crying and my dad was crying. I said, I love you, Dad. He said, I love you, son. All of us in here at Sconiers have gone through something. And I think the message, I know the message that King was around, he was around in recent. I want you to know, he said, hey, this too shall pass. Whatever you're going through, this too shall pass. Don't let it hold you down. Look at us. Look at us. Look at the slave girl, Sophie Simmons. Think about it. When you feel depressed, you feel like you can't go on. Just think about there was a time where we didn't own our own selves. That's what they would want you to know. That's what my grandmother, Reese, would want you to know. She was a missionary. Reese, Anderson Sconiers, widowed almost 40 years, no job. But yet she finished the course. She finished the course. And if they were alive today, and I've got a picture in my house of my grandmother and grandfather. There's a saying that says a picture paints 1,000 words. You see, my grandfather died in 1943. 42, 43. I didn't come along in 1965. But in this picture up on my wall, I got my grandfather had a Bible right in the side. He had a Bible in the picture just like this. And my grandmother had her Bible on the side. They standing on attention like they was in the army. Yes, they're ready to do some spiritual warfare. You know, spiritual warfare. This is the exact picture right here. You can't see it from the distance. That's it right there. So I got this on my wall. See, they got a Bible. With a big old family, if that thick one my grandfather had. He got it in 1943, and me in 65, but he left a legacy. And I cry sometimes. I said, I knew where my grandfather stood. He stood on the Bible. When times got hard, I didn't have to wonder. He didn't have to wonder. So the next thing they're going to leave with, family, what's going to be your legacy? Then the generations coming behind you, and they're going to ask the question, what were they like? Will you leave a legacy with the Bible like this? And where they going to know where you stood? There ain't no misunderstanding, there ain't no mistake. The way you stood. But that's what we've done as a whole, in our family as a whole. We've left a legacy. It ain't about what you say, but it's a tangible legacy. He died in 1943. I was born in 65, but I feel like I knew him very well. When I feel myself getting down, I look at my grandpa. I said, Grandpa, you didn't quit. I won't either.
Amen. All right.
You didn't quit. I won't quit. It's not an option. Sometimes I go outside, just like I'm down there, and I be yelling, my granddad ain't quit. I won't either. Thank you.